Let's move to Germany and the challenges there and the energy mix there. Clearly, nuclear is not a big part of that energy mix, or it won't be part of that energy mix. Now, what are the parts of the energy mix in Germany?
Well, Germany is completely different, since they don't have those natural resources in the form of a hydropower, it's of course fossil fuel that's important. But I mean, that's what I started out with. It's extremely important to understand that you have to live with the legacy systems they have. So if we are looking at the future in European society, where we are honoring the 2020 targets, which I guess you're familiar with, we're reducing carbon dioxide by 20% and all of that. And also living up to what we expect to do in the European Union, which is security of supply and being self-contained in some way. We need to be able to handle the sources we have for generation. And those fuel sources are coal, as in Germany, and it is the renewables coming into the system. So we need to, in some way, to be able to live with this and gradually transfer over. And that's the process we are in now. And it's going perhaps a little bit quicker than we expected. So.
And again, what are the demands that it's making? What is it asking you to do in terms of incorporating technology that you haven't had to do before?
Yeah, that puts a completely different demands on the system. For one thing, it's if you look at the regulated side of the system, which is the grid, then all of a sudden we get generation coming into parts of the grid we didn't expect from the beginning. I mean, the grid was not built in your house to actually accept production, which has turned everything around. So you get reverse flow of power in this, from the low voltage network all the way up in the system. And that has immediate consequences on protection systems, on transformers, and all of that. So those are technical issues you have to solve immediately, and that is pushing costs to the system. So that's what we have to do immediately. The other thing on a larger scale is the energy balance that you need to handle in some way, because when it's windy, and you have even an excess of generation in the system compared to what you're consuming. That means that you have to be able to either export that, or you have to curtail the wind, or you have to absorb it somewhere. And it's pretty stupid to build a lot of wind for subsidized money and just turn it off afterwards. So that means that you have to do other things.
So the issue with wind is actually not just that some days it's not windy, it's actually some days there's too much.
Yeah, that's more of a problem right now, because we have constrictions in the network, which means that you can't get rid of the power out to other ones that would need it, where it's less windy, for example. So.
You mentioned these European targets, the 2020 targets. Just so there's no doubt, can you just explain those to us?
Yeah, that's European law in the form of directives, which has to be implemented in national law. So it says that by 2020 we should have reduced the carbon dioxide emissions by 20%. We should have reduced the total energy consumption by 20%, and we should have 20% more renewables into the system very easily.
And you think you can hit those, that Europe can hit those targets?
Yeah, I think we are a fairly good way to actually hit those targets, at least some of them. Now, that might be because we have a dip in the economy, for example, that reduces the use of electricity and also uses the emission of CO2. So from that perspective, things are looking like we might be able to do it.
But the economy improves, and suddenly using more of this stuff.
Yeah, right. Because what hasn't been cracked yet is that there's always been this relation between an increased economy and increased energy consumption. So from that perspective, I can't see that we have the final solution to things yet. But I think Germany is, even though it might be annoying for companies like Vattenfall, which are facing low prices and things like that, they're really pushing it. They're really pushing the legislation, which is pushing the technology to be able to handle this. So.
We've spoken about Sweden, we've spoken about Germany. Finally, let's talk about the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Tell me again, what are the challenges? What's the mix of energy? What are the challenges you're facing?
Netherlands has a slightly different mix. They have more gas in the system, but they still have coal. But it's essentially a fossil system, as the same as almost all continental
So
Europe.
similar to Germany in terms
Similar
of
to
those,
Germany.
those challenges.
They haven't got the same, of course, they don't have the same type of legislation, incentive systems for getting renewables into the system, and actually no countries has got the same at all. So you have to handle it different everywhere. But so it's not going as quickly in Netherlands as we can see in Germany, for example. So.